Bonjour everyone and welcome if this is your first time here. I'm super excited to be sharing with you 3 new to me animal decks. These are 3 indie decks by the company Wheel of Fortune, and you guys might know them because they are the same people who did the Whispers of Stars and Garden Tarot. If you've watched any of my videos last year, you know was one of my absolute favorite decks of 2025. I adore this one. They kindly reached out to me and asked if I was willing to have a look at some of their other creations, which of course I was really excited to do as I truly adore this particular deck. So today I've got 3 decks to present to you guys. I'm really excited. I'm gonna be putting timestamps in the description box so you guys can move between the 3 different tarot decks. In the description box, of course, you're gonna find everything regarding these decks, where you can purchase them. That's where you'll also find the link to my second channel, The Waves of Your Soul readings, which is where I post pick up high readings, monthly guidance, and where you will see these decks being put to good use. The theme overall is animal decks, nature decks. As regarding the themes, we have one deck dedicated to cats, one deck dedicated to dogs, and one that is focused on different sorts of animals. These creators are actually currently working on 3 future Kickstarters coming up. Here they are. We have the Ancient Chinese Celestial God Tarot, the Cherry Dreamwoven Lenormand, and Her Witch of Flaming Magic Tarot. So lots of cool projects, and you can find out all their information here. On Instagram, they go as WF by Emma. Again, I'll make sure to leave all the links in the description box if you want to follow along for their future creations. These decks were sent to me for review, but as always, all of the thoughts are my own. These are my own opinions. You guys know I'm always very transparent and honest with you. So I do want to say thank you to Wheel of Fortune for trusting me with their creations and for allowing me to share them with you. I've actually been using these decks for the last couple of weeks, so this is not going to be a first impression. I'm actually going to be able to tell you what I like, what I don't like. This is going to be a full walkthrough with my thoughts, full review, and we're going to start straight in with this gorgeous cat deck, which is called the Revelations of the Cat Spirit Tarot. Let's do this. So let's start with the Revelation of the Cat Spirit Tarot. This is an indie deck. As you can see, I was very kindly sent 2 different copies, and the reason is that there's 2 different finish on the cards. So we're gonna get into it. Get them on Etsy directly from the creators. I believe they retail around $48, shipping included. First of all, the box is really stunning on both of these. It's the same design. You can see we have like this golden hollow accent, same on both boxes. And as I said, the reason why I have 2 different boxes is that there's 2 different finish that you can pick this cat deck. So we have one that they call the Silky Smooth Edition, which is more of a linen finish, and one that they call the Velvet Touch Edition, which I would say is more of a matte finish, almost rose petal, but not sticky at all. We're gonna get into it anyway. First up, look at the gorgeous box. Both of the box have the same message inside. It says every choice is like the light steps of a cat stepping towards an unknown and fantastical journey. And what I really liked about these decks is that these were actually inspired by real cats from the creators. I think the cats are called Peter and Emily, it says in the guidebook, and I thought that was really sweet. I always love when people create animal decks, specifically decks related to pets, when there's actual, like, you know, real pets inspiring these. I think it's always a gorgeous, loving kind of gesture. Inside the box, as you can see, we have a little bed of fabric that holds the deck and the guidebook. So for the matte finish, or what they call the Velvet Touch Edition, we have this like gold kind of fabric, and for the linen finish, or what they call the Silky Smooth Edition, we have this orange. Both of them have the same guidebook, which we'll get into in a little bit. Before I get fully into the cards, I did want to take a moment to show you the different kinds of paper, as I really think that this is going to be useful for people. Some people prefer linen finish, some people prefer matte. It really depends on what you guys prefer to shuffle. Personally, I've been using the linen version, but it really is up to personal preferences. So this is the matte version. It's how it comes like. I love the little attention to detail. We have a little paper with a little cat. On both of the decks, whether it's the linen or the matte, more matte version, the same backs, but on the matte version or the Velvet Touch version, which is on my left, we have matte gold edges, whereas on the Silky Smooth edition, which is more of a linen finish, we have gold foiled edges, so slightly different edges. Of the paper for the linen, which is the version that I have chosen, we have this beautiful linen finish, 350 art paper finish, and it really shuffles like a dream. It's been great. This is the one I've been using. It's not one of those that will fly everywhere. Honestly, all of these decks have amazing production quality. The paper is lovely on both versions. The box design is lovely. And that's because they actually print not just their decks, but they are manufacturers of other people's decks. So you can really see the attention to details on these decks. If you like a nice indie deck that has beautiful quality, a beautiful box and all of that, these are it. For the matte version, or the Velvet Touch edition, I have 330 black core paper. So if you like a deck with a little bit more of a core, this is giving that rose petal finish, but it is not at all sticky, which I love when I've kept this one in order. But as you can see, it is not clumpy at all, which is quite rare for those kind of decks that normally use this like rose petal finish. As you can see, the linen finish on the side is a little bit thicker than the matte one, so that also is something that might help you figure out what's best for you depending on your hands, what you prefer, etc. And now we're going to get straight into the walkthrough and look at all of the cards. So as the name suggests, the revelation of the Cat Spirit Tarot, this is a cat deck. So to share with you the cards, I've decided to show you the more matte version, but I've been consistently using the linen version and I have been really enjoying reading with this deck for the last few weeks. As you're gonna see, we have different kinds of cats in this one. We have some white cats, black cats, orange cats, all in this absolutely gorgeous art style. Very interesting color choices in this one. We see a lot of reds, a lot of blues, a lot of greens, and this gorgeous kind of like watercolor art style, which has been a joy for me to use as it gives this deck a very kind energy. Like I said, I've been using this deck consistently for the last couple of weeks. So I've done lots of different kinds of readings with this. I've done day-to-day readings. I've done health readings even. I've done readings about career. I even did a reading connecting with one of my kitties who passed away, and it was really profound, really beautiful, and overall this deck definitely gives a very kind energy. So obviously this is perfect for all of my cat lovers and animal lovers in general. If you like cute decks, I think you would love this one, obviously. What I like about this, we know there's a lot of cat decks out there on the market. What I like about this one first is the art style and the color choices. It's quite different, quite unique, very vibrant colors, as you can see when I put them all on the side. I love the kind of also movement on the cat. So here you can see the star is stretching. It's great. As you've seen on the hangman, the position of the cat is very natural. It really feels like a real cat doing things. You're gonna see there's a lot of like mischief and cheekiness also in this deck, because let's be real, cats can be little goblins, and so it feels like this was absolutely created by cat lovers, because you see in a lot of the decks expressions and behaviors and movements that are very much typical of cats. So you've seen the major arcana absolutely respects the RWS. We have no renaming. It's the same for minors. Wands for fire, cups for water. We have pentacles for earth and sword for air. So there's no renaming even in the court cards. And that makes this deck great for beginners. I would say if you're looking for a gift for someone who wants to learn tarot, specifically if you're looking for a deck maybe for a younger audience, because this is so cute, it follows the RWS, it's still very accessible, and the guidebook, we're going to get into it, is really helpful. This would be a great, I think, gift for a beginner. So see, when I was talking to you about cat behavior and funny postures, this Six of Wands is brilliant. Right? It looks like a cat who's just been cleaning themselves, feeling very proud and smug, and I love it. This is one of my favorite cards. So as I was saying, it's quite faithful to the RWS. What I like is that we still have some of the traditional symbolism on there. So for example, you've seen for the Justice card, we had the scale. For the Empress, we had the sign of Venus, etc. So it is quite faithful to the RWS, which makes this again great for beginners. Absolutely nothing confronting here in the sense of art style. Also something to note, sometimes animal decks look super cute, but then the more strange shift of energy. This one is very consistent across the board. It feels not confronting. So I think a deck I would recommend for people who maybe are a little bit apprehensive of tarot. It would be a great one to use for maybe at events even, because you can be using this and kind of reassure people that tarot doesn't have to be super scary. So as you've seen, I've just shared with you the court cards, which are not renamed. And as you can see here on this particular cards, we really have all sorts of different kinds of kitties. We have some black kitties, orange kitties, white kitties, gray kitties. The Four of Cups, another one of my absolute favorite cards. I love how this little cat is pushing away this one. And it's a really interesting take on the Four of Cups, because it shows to us that we don't always have to take all the options there. Sometimes the Four of Cups can be read as apathy, but I also like to read it as you've got enough on your plate and you don't have to say yes to everything. And this really shows this ability of cats to be like, no thanks, to, this ability to push it away and to just be content with what it's in front of you. I think is a really beautiful interpretation of the Four of Cups. Let's continue for the Five of Cups. Again, I love the expressions on these cats. You can tell that this was created by people who have cats, who adore cats, because it just feels very real, right? It feels like it's inspired by real animals. The Seven of Cups, very traditional. Eight of Cups, beautiful. And one of my favorite, the Nine of Cups, is so cute with his little bow. Another favorite is the Ten of Cups, because you can see a black cat, orange and white cat, and the little kitty has all three colors, and that is too cute. This is so sweet, and I just love the watercolor background. It's really stunning. So as I was telling you guys, I have been consistently using this deck for the last couple of weeks, I would say, and it reads really well if you're used to the RWS. The guidebook is fantastic. I will share with you in a bit. I've noticed that a lot of the kitties have bows on their neck, which is really sweet. I think it's such a lovely addition, and as a choice of color is really interesting. I think it's quite bold and vibrant, and that fits cat energy, right? Cats can be quite energetic, and they get the zoomies again. So like I was telling you guys, see the Three of Swords, it's not confronting. I don't think you get the message that the Three of Swords is painful, but it's not too much, I think, anyway, in my opinion. So let's continue. The Four of Swords is gorgeous. The Five of Swords, he looks so smug, and the other two in the background look angry. It's great. Another one of my favorite cards, the Six of Swords, this little cat with a pirate hat or like a nautical hat, is really brilliant. It continues the traditional imagery of this idea of like traveling across water for the Six of Swords, which is great. The Seven of Swords, we still have the tent, we still have the moon, so you see a lot of like traditional symbolism, which is really helpful if you like to rely on that, on your knowledge of the traditional meanings of the card. The Eight of Swords is great, this little kitty who has gone stuck. Nine of Swords, even though it's normally a card that's quite intense, I think this version of it feels a lot more peaceful and a lot more calm, and I like it because it gives you a little bit of perspective. Like, yeah, maybe right now things are really anxious and scary, but you can take it easy a little bit, and maybe resting is the best thing you can do, and tomorrow is another day. That's what these kitties are telling me. And let's look at the Ten of Swords again. I appreciate the fact that for such a cute deck, even the hard cards, they're not too confronting, so this would be great to use for any audience, really, any age. We have the Page of Swords, really cute. The Knight of Swords, one of my absolute favorite cards. This kitty riding an eagle is hilarious and excellent. What a great Knight of Swords. I love it. Queen of Swords looks very regal. And the King of Swords with his castle in the background. Great. Let's continue. We have the Ace of Pentacles, beautiful with these flowers. Two of Pentacles is really sweet. The Three of Pentacles, again, we have this idea of cooperation. Let's continue. Four is another one of my favorite. This kitty will not share. He's seated. This is his pentacle and he's not about to give it to you. It's great. The Five is very traditional RWS again, with this little pumpkin. Seven, beautiful. This little kitty being patient, waiting for the bloom to grow. The Eight, so funny. This kitty making himself a coffee so he can work all night. I love it. It's great. 9, one of my favorite cards. Just looks so content, so cozy. Just, you know, like cats do when they find themselves a nice little sunspot and they look like the most cozy being on earth. This is a perfect 9 of Pentacles, I think. The 10 is really sweet. It's giving that family energy. And finally, we have the Page, the Knight. We have the Queen and the King. The guidebook is great as well. I was really pleasantly surprised. Whiskers of Wisdom, which I thought such a great pun. I love the image on the front. It's really sweet. It's the same guidebook for both of the version, whether it's the matte version or the linen finish. And you're gonna see we have actually quite a lot. So at the beginning, we have a little pictures of the cats who inspired this deck, Peter and Emily. Really sweet. I love the fact that these were inspired by real cats. I think it's such a nice, loving touch. A deck to remember your cats and to celebrate your times with your pets overall is just a lovely, I think, endeavor. So in the guidebook, you have an introduction to tarot. It tells you a bit about the 4 suits, major arcana, minor arcana. It also tells you about using reversals and spreads. So this tells you everything you need to know before you get into a deck. So again, even if you're gifting this to someone who's never read tarot, they are not going to be left to their own devices. For each of the cards, we have full text, upward, and reversed. So as you can see, we have Emperor, full text, upward, full text, reverse, and it's the same thing for minors. So here we have 4 of Pentacles upward, 4 of Pentacles reversed, and at the back you have some 3 card spreads to help you out. The Celtic Cross, a little cat-inspired spread, which I tried and was really fun. Let's pull a little card and I'll read to you the guidebook. I'm gonna use a linen version to pull a card because that's the one I've been using the most. So like I was telling you guys, on the linen one you have gold foiled edges, whereas on the more matte finish you have matte edges, like gold matte edges. So let's pull a little card and I'll read to you guys what the guidebook has to say. Okay, we have the 4 of Swords, which looks like this. This is a take a break card. A wise person knows when it is time to walk away and indulge in some self-care. You may be very busy, but if you don't take the much needed break, you will not perform at your best. You may not even last to finish the task at hand. Take some time to take stocks of things and make adjustments where needed. You need perspective to continue. Find some stillness and let it in. You need a quiet leg to catch the big fish. An important idea may come to the surface if you let it. I love that. And then for the reverse, it says, something may be blocking you and preventing you from getting the rest you need. Make sure you're not letting people overwork you by expecting too much. You may need to get some boundaries and reset some expectations in order to create a healthier balance. It could also be a sign of a shift in your priorities from external concerns to more internal ones. As you can see, really approachable in terms of the guidebook. Again, great whatever, regardless of your level of tarot. In terms of readings, like I said, because it follows the RWS, I have been really enjoying using it for many different things. The way that it shined the most for me was to actually connect with one of my kitties who passed. I had a really meaningful reading with this one. But I also really enjoyed using this for creativity kinds of readings because the energy of this one, whilst gentle, it is quite vibrant. You've seen from the color choices, you see from like just the energy of cats in general, it feels quite vibrant, it feels quite dynamic. I have really enjoyed this even for like creative readings. I wanted to finish with this deck by sharing with you the tower properly because I thought it was great. This tower is one of my favorite cards. I love that we see the kitty so close, as it's giving you another version of the tower meaning, I think. As we know, cats always land on their feet. It really gives you this sensation that whilst you may feel like you're falling right now, or the carpet might have been pulled under your feet, like a cat, you can land back on your feet and feel like it's not the end of the world, right? It's a message of hope. Even the Tower card, I think, is really hopeful and giving you a little bit of a boost compared to other towers that might feel potentially a little bit more gloomy. So I just wanted to finish on that. We're going to move to the next deck now by these creators, which is the Tranquil Dog Tarot. Again, this is a tarot deck by the same creators, the Wheel of Fortune Tarot. This time, instead of having 2 different cardstock versions, we have 2 different sizes, which is still great. These creators seem really dedicated to making sure that they offer people a lot of option in terms of production quality, cardstock, size. You're gonna see like literally all of their decks comes in different versions, something that's quite unique to them. And I think that's fantastic because it allows people to find the perfect deck for them. Whether you want something smaller, maybe you have pain in your hands, or you want something you can carry around, or if you want something that's more regular tarot size. The standard edition, which is this one, standard tarot size, I think is $45 US, shipping included. The mini edition, which is this one, is $25 USD, shipping included. The art style will be the same, and as the name suggests, the Tranquil Dog. This time we are looking at a deck inspired by dogs. I love dogs. I have 3 dogs. Let's talk about production quality, which with all of these creators' decks is fantastic. You can tell they put a lot of attention and pay so much attention and care to production, the box, the cardstock. They really want the objects to feel special, and I really appreciate this attention to detail. So on the standard edition, we have blue holo on the box, like embossing of blue holo. I think you can see that. It opens like this, so quite unique. Again, inside we have embossing, blue holo embossing, beautiful. All the decks come with a like proof of purchase. How do you call that? A certificate of authenticity, sorry. For the standard edition, as you're gonna see, the cards are standard size. The cardstock is matte, so 350 GSMs with matte finish. It gives that beautiful like sound when you shuffle it, which I love. We have blue foil edges, which are stunning. The backs also have blue foil. Hopefully you can see that because it's a little bit overcast when I am filming this, but hopefully you can see that. And we even have on the front of the card here, you can see the borders. We have also blue foil. So look at that. You can see the full is written with blue foil. The borders of the card, blue holographic foil, which is really beautiful. For the mini version, there is no foil on the box. It's more simple, I would say, which is completely understandable as this is a deck that's more affordable. We have a 2-piece box, which looks like this. Again, inside you have an image. It's the same image as inside this one. And in the bottom, you also have a quote. It was the same quote inside the standard edition as well. It's a quote by John W. Gardner. You have, as I mentioned, a certificate of authenticity. The cardstock is also 350 matte finish, so it's the same cardstock, but this time we have copper edges. And the backs this time don't have foil, it's just matte blue and red, but the same design of the bone, obviously, as this is a dog deck. So I'm going to share with you the standard edition so you can see a little bit more. But as you can see, the ones I've actually used myself has been the mini. I've taken this one with me everywhere. I've been using it again the last couple of weeks, so I can give you my full thoughts. And I'm really excited to share it. So as you've seen, for both the mini version and the standard version, there is no guidebook. But because this is really faithful to the RWS, even more so than the cat deck, if you are familiar with the Rider-Waite-Smith system, you won't have any issues reading with this deck as all the symbolism is there. And again, the gorgeous blue foil on the front with the border and the name and the number. So as the name suggests, the Tranquil Dog Tarot, obviously this is a dog inspired deck. And you guys know I absolutely adore dogs and I have 3 at home. I've just rescued a third one, P2, not even 5 months ago. He was originally meant to be a foster and I ended up keeping him because I fell in love with him. So when these creators got in touch with me and were like, do you want to check out our dog decks? I was like, yes, please. You know, I love decks that share our love for pets and cat and animals and nature in general. So I've actually been using consistently the mini version. I wanted to leave the standard version in order so I could share it with you guys in order. As you're gonna see, this is very faithful to the RWS. Like I was saying, you know, for the Emperor, we still have the rams, we have the globe, there's all the elements there that remind you of Aries and Mars. Same for the Hierophant, you have the cross, you have the hat. So this is really a deck that is faithful to tradition in terms of symbolism, but obviously instead of humans we have these gorgeous doggos. What I've noticed is that whilst the cat deck I shared with you just earlier, the revelations of the Cat Spirit Tarot felt quite dynamic and great for like creative readings, career readings, things of like day-to-day life. This one really carries its name really well, the Tranquil Dog Tarot, because it feels a lot more gentle and calm. I don't know if it's the colors, like there's a lot of blue that makes this deck feel very soothing. I don't know if it's the fact that the dogs chosen feel all like big dogs. We have huskies, we have poodles, we have some Labradors. Overall, it's mostly bigger dogs. I have noticed that the egregore of the deck, the energy of the deck is very gentle, very soothing. Dogs are well known to be best friends, right? They're supportive dogs, especially big dogs like the ones depicted here, Labradors and all of those. They are great dogs for support, for healing. We see a lot of them, even working dogs, right? They are the kind of dogs who often help humans with different jobs, and maybe they work as medical jobs, maybe they work in the police forces, whatever it is. The dogs represented feel like the kind of dogs that would oftentimes be helping humans with something. And so this is really translates with how these decks read, I think, because this deck reads like it's there to help you. I've noticed it's there to support you, it's there to help you, and it also has a very soothing, kind voice. So as you've seen, very traditional RWS kind of majors. There's no renamings. All of the cards, we still get for the world, for example, we have the 4 star signs that we expect. For the judgment, we have the trumpet being blown. If you're familiar with the RWS, you won't have any issues reading with this. For the wands, instead of wands, we have bones, which is great. Makes so much sense. But again, it's still very traditional, so if you're familiar with that system, you won't have any issues. It would be great for beginners if you're looking for a deck to give to someone who loves dogs and they want to learn tarot. This could be an option. The only thing is that there's no guidebook, so that's a little bit of a minus point if you're gifting this. Personally, I like to give decks to someone who wants to learn tarot with a guidebook that they can get into. That just makes more sense to me. But if you know a dog lover who loves tarot, then this is a great gift. Obviously, animal lovers also will love this. And also, I think RWS lovers, because this feels so close to the RWS that it, even in like the quality of the art style, even the color choices, if Pixie or Pamela Coleman Smith had created a dog deck, it almost feels like it could have been this one, I don't know. I've actually paired this with a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, and it looks glorious, the two of them together. It's a beautiful pairing with a classic Rider-Waite-Smith. So you can see King of Wands, we still have the geckos and the crown, but of course, again, instead of wands, we have bones. Let's move on to the cup suit. Gorgeous Ace of Cups, really beautiful. The Two of Cups is also quite traditional. So obviously, as the name suggests, you're gonna see no humans in this one, only dogs. And honestly, I love using animal deck personally because sometimes you're just sick of humans, right? Sometimes you need a break from humans, and reading with an animal deck can just give you that gentle contemplation that tarot gives without the added layer and noise that humans can bring. Fun because it's so faithful to the traditional RWS. I've really enjoyed for all sorts of readings. This is one of my favorite cards. It looks like this dog is sleeping, and it looks like all these dreams are coming through. A great interpretation, I think, of the Seven of Cups. I've done lots of different kinds of readings with this one because it's so because it respects the tradition so much. You can really use this for anything. I would say personally, the readings I've done that really shone for me were readings more in the realm of like self-care readings, because the voice is so gentle and soothing. It has been fantastic for supportive readings, readings to really focus on self-care, guidance, things like that. Again, just because there is this energy of gentleness that comes through from this deck. The King of Cups is a Labrador, for example, which I think is fantastic. Also the Queen of Cups. That's brilliant because we know that Labrador loves water, and I think they really embody Queen and King of Cups energy, so I love that. Let's move on to the Ace of Sword. As you can see, the pommel of the sword is a little bone again. I've done lots of readings with this, lots of different kinds of readings with this one. For me, it's shown more so for like gentle reading, self-care reading, personal development readings. That's how I found it really shown, because it has such a gentle, kind voice. This almost feels like a hug deck in energy, whereas the cat deck felt quite active and creative, dynamic. This one really feels a lot more soothing and calm and gentle. Again, I don't know if it's because of the name, obviously, if it's the intention behind the deck, the color choices, but you really feel it when you read with this one. Let's continue. The Eight of Swords is great. We really see this idea of stuckness. The Nine of Swords is great with his open eyes. Quite scary. And the Ten of Swords, I really appreciate that just because it's the Ten of Swords, we don't see any blood. You know, I don't really like animal decks that show blood on the Ten of Swords if the rest of the deck feels quite cute and like gentle. I don't really want to see a violent card suddenly pop up, and this one, it keeps the tradition and keeps what you need to know, but it doesn't feel too gruesome, right? Because I don't want to see a dog screwed bleeding out if I have such a cute deck looking, you know, so gentle throughout. So I appreciate that they kept it consistent. The Knight of Swords is great, very active. We have the Queen, again, with the butterflies, very traditional, and the King with the birds, gorgeous. Let's move on to the Pentacles. Of course, the Pentacles have a bone, it's great. The Two is super dynamic, one of my favorite cards. I love the high waves. It's really cool the way that they've done the perspective on this one. Three of Pentacles, cooperation. The 4, the 5, again, very traditional. The 6 is great with those little paws waiting to receive their bones. I love that. 7 of Pentacles, quite reminiscent of the cat deck, I think. The 8 feels very studious, focusing on his craft. The 9 is beautiful. We have the bird, we have the grapes. So I love that we still have a lot of the traditional symbolism. For the 10, we have the family, and I was curious how they were going to interpret the 10, because normally here you see a dog, right? And I was like, can dogs have dogs as pets? That would be quite strange. And they've chosen, I think it's a sheep, which is really fun. So I guess dogs can have sheep as pets. So that was a fun interpretation. I like it. And let's look at the last court cards. We have the Page with this little magnifying glass. We have the Knight. We have the Queen, and finally the King. To summarize my thoughts on this one, I've really enjoyed my time with it. I think the production quality is particularly beautiful on both editions. Cardstock is lovely to shuffle. A deck that's really obviously faithful to the traditional RWS, so I think it's great for those like me who are RWS lovers at heart. I've had a great time with this one. I'm a huge dog lover, so I always appreciate being able to bring dog energy into the readings. If you're looking for a deck that's very gentle, kind, and you're a fellow dog lover like myself, you will probably really appreciate this one. So let's move on to the last deck, the Untamed Mystery Tarot. Let's do it. The last deck I want to share with you guys today, as part of these 3 animal decks from the same creators, is the Untamed Mystery Tarot. This is another deck that they create that comes in lots of different versions, I believe. I looked at their Etsy website, tons of different options, different colorways. The one I'm sharing with you is called the Noir deck. You're gonna see it's quite dark in essence. So here is what the box looks like. It's called the Untamed Mystery Tarot. Unlike the other 2 decks I've shared with you, this one doesn't focus on just one animal. We have several animals represented, and you're gonna see the vibe in this one is a lot darker, I would say. We still have beautiful attention to detail. You can see like this gorgeous holo. We have a color here. It's a 2-piece box, so it opens like this. The side of the box also has beautiful art style, so great attention to detail. As with all of the decks from these creators, it was the same on also the Whispers, Stars and Gardens Tarot. There was always just, the box was beautiful, great attention to detail. So I really appreciate that. It shows that they care, you know, to make beautiful objects. This one does come with a guidebook, so we'll get into it in a bit. And by looking at their Etsy, I think this one retails a little bit more than the other 2. I think it retails at $65. So here are the backs. The cardstock is quite different this time than the other 2 because it is plastic. I think it's PVC. I personally don't really like this kind of cardstock, so I'm gonna be very honest with you guys. I struggle shuffling it. Some people love it. It means that you can literally carry it everywhere. It's super bendy, right? It is really flexible. It's waterproof because it's plastic and PVC, and it has linen texture. So some people love it because it's, again, super durable, I guess. I personally don't love it because it's very slippery and I struggle shuffling with it. So it's just a case of preference for me. It's not really my favorite kind of cardstock, which is why overall this was not my favorite deck of the three, but I was sent it, so I still want to share it with you guys. I do want to point out that my version is a noir version. So you're going to see it's quite dark, and you guys know I love color. So again, not my favorite thing, but you can get this deck with other versions that are a lot more colorful, and I think I probably would have preferred these other versions just because I personally love color. So whilst this is a nature deck, you're gonna see this is really not a cute deck in essence. We are gonna see a lot of eyes, a lot of skulls. It feels like nature more in its wild form, in its more wild essence, a little bit more untamed, I guess, which obviously is the name of the deck, right? This is not nature that is cute. This is nature that feels quite intense and sometimes maybe even violent, which is also part of nature. Obviously, nature is not kind, right? If you watch documentaries, animal documentaries, you know that nature can be quite violent and brutal. On each of the cards, you're gonna see an animal or two. So here, for example, for the Emperor, we have a lion. I'm gonna be completely honest again, you guys, because this is the Noir version, I kind of struggled with this deck just using it. Even in direct sunlight, I couldn't really see all the details. I think I would enjoy it much more with one of the different color palettes, because this feels quite dark. That obviously is the point with this particular version of it. I know some people will love something quite dark. Also consider the fact that I live somewhere very sunny and tropical, so for me it doesn't really go, right? In terms of the energy, I live somewhere really sunny, really tropical, so something so dark doesn't really feel like it's the vibe. But if you live somewhere that has winter, for example, I think this would be a great winter deck. Now you've got to love eyes, because there's a lot of eyes. Again, some people are gonna love that, some people are gonna get freaked out. This feels definitely more like a shadow deck, right? This is not a cuddle deck at all. You can see even for the Hermit, we have this snail with all of the eyes on it. I will say that the animals are all really beautiful and that they're not chosen at random, so I appreciate that. For example, the guidebook will tell you exactly why there was a snail in the Hermit, why there's an elephant, for example, in the Justice card. So it's not random choices in terms of all of the animals, which I really appreciate. And the guidebook is great. We'll go into it in a little bit. Lots of skulls, lots of eyes. Definitely one that is taking you on its own path. Whilst the other decks I shared with you today were very faithful to tradition, this one is truly on its own lane. It kind of creates its own world. It's world of animals and almost monsters, right? Look at this tower. It's quite intense. There's bugs and skulls, and here, for example, for the star, we have the turtle, really beautiful. I could see them a little bit better. And again, that's personal preference. I don't love dark decks personally. It's not really my vibe. You guys know I love color. This is where I struggled a bit with this one. But if I pay attention to the details and I look at how precise the artwork is, I can't deny that there's some really beautiful cards. As all the majors, let's look at the Ace of Wands. For the Ace of Wands, we have a little rabbit. There's no renamings in terms of the court cards, majors and minors. For all of the wands, we have rabbits. So each suit is gonna choose a different animal to follow. The one suit almost gives a little bit like Alice in Wonderland energy. The whole deck feels a little bit dreamlike and does give off that Alice in Wonderland energy, where things are a little bit absurd sometimes and you don't really understand why things are the way they are. It's dreamlike and imaginative, and I don't think whimsical is the right word because it's a lot darker. So it's not whimsical, but it's quite almost like Pan's Labyrinth. You guys, if you watch that movie, it does give off very much that. It does give off also, like I said, Alice in Wonderland, but the grown-up version of Alice, who maybe was going into a nightmare. There's something with this that feels quite dreamlike, but also a little bit nightmarish, obviously, with all of the skulls and the eyes and skeletons and a little bit gloominess. So this is definitely for me a shadow deck, I would say, as that's how I've used it personally. I've tried to do other kinds of readings with it and it didn't really resonate for me that way. It really felt more appropriate for kind of shadow reading. Just the color palette, the art style, the intensity of the world it's building. We've had no renamings either. It was Page, Knight, King, and Queen. Let's move on to the cups. So for the cups, we're in the realm of water and we have fish this time. I don't know if they're koi carps, they might be. I don't remember because I've been working with those 3 decks for the last couple of weeks, trying to prepare this review for you guys. So here we have the 7 of cups, we have the 8, we have the 9, and we have the 10. So I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. This is not my favorite out of the other 2, purely because I struggled seeing what was going on and because I'm not a huge eye person. Like I get a little bit freaked out by that personally. I love hands, but eyes are something that sometimes make me a little bit uncomfortable. And you know, that's tarot. We are all different. I think the art style is beautiful. It's just not personally my style. I much prefer the other 2, just personal preference. But I already know this is gonna speak to a lot of people who like a more darker aesthetic. For the swords, if I didn't mention, we have Birds of Prey. I will say the guidebook is fantastic. I really enjoyed reading it. I'm gonna go into it in a bit. Have the 7 of Swords, 8, really traditional, this idea of stuckness. 9, I don't know if I mentioned, but this deck is a little bit more pipish in essence. You still have, you know, it's not pure pips. You definitely have an animal and little details on all of the cards. The Minors is more pipish than the other decks I've shared with you today. So here we have our Page, our Knight, our Queen. She's gorgeous. And our King. I also really like this one. Beautiful eagle. And let's move on to the last suit with the Pentacles. I really like the Pentacle suit. I think that's my favorite. We have horses for this one. Feels very appropriate for the year of the horse that's coming up in Chinese zodiac year. So we have the fire horse here coming soon, which is maybe why I'm bonding with this suit more. 4 of Pentacles, the 5, 6, 7, the 8, 9, and 10, and the last court card, our Page. We have our Knight, we have our Queen, and we have our King. Let's look at the guidebook. As I said, I was really pleasantly surprised with it. It's quite chunky. There's almost 200 pages on this one, and each of the cards there's a lot written for minors and for majors. So here it says, for the King of Pentacles, the King of Pentacles is a wise old sage of the suit, a teacher of the power and mysteries of the element of earth. The King horse leaps forward from inside a pentacle with a magical portal. The King is allowing us to see this moment in order to prove to us once and for all that the pentacle is much more than meets the eyes, that we should never take anything for granted and always look beyond what is considered face value. As the King rides out of the pentacle into the natural world, he makes himself available to teach us that the pentacle has 2 sides which must always be balanced. 2 to 3 pages for all of the card. It continues to say, a strange plant unlike any other from the Untamed Mystery Tarot blooms open at the top of this card. Perhaps what makes this flower so strange is that it's simply natural and free of watchful eyes, brains, mouth, and skeletal features. So it tells you why. You're right, we have this beautiful plant here. It explains to you, the guidebook, why all of the choices in terms of artistic choices, why they decided to depict in the cards, and it does so for each of the cards. So I really like the guidebook. I think it's fantastic. The King of Pentacles represent old souls, elders, professors, and grandparents, someone who has lived a very long and full life filled with lessons and experience in the realm of earth. They are our greatest teachers in how to endure, learn, cultivate, and gain experience through dedication and routine. When the King appears in a reading, it might be advising us to follow advice, suggestions, or assignments given by teachers and elders. And then you have upward forward and reversed meaning. So all of the details are explained. If I look at the explanation of the Knight of Wands, so here in the guidebook it says the rabbit knight appears as the fabled jackalope, also known in Western culture as a warrior rabbit. The fearsome hare with antlers springing forth from its head, bound through the dark brambles of the forest, plants blooming with watchful eyes that are always observing and mouths that love to gossip, appear to cower at the sight of the jackalope knight. And then it continues to explain on. The guidebook truly explains to you all of the choices in terms of the art style, so I loved reading through it. I just didn't really bond with the darkness of the color scheme, and again, that's a very personal choice. This deck, like I said, comes in other colors that are much more bright, which I think would be much more my vibe. But I do really appreciate the attention to detail when it comes to the guidebook, the production. I do love the fact that this is more of a darker kind of animal deck, as we do have a lot of cute animal decks out there. There's not many decks that focus on the more wild, darker side of nature. And I want to say a huge thank you to Wheel of Fortune for sending me these decks for review. I really appreciate being able to give you guys my opinion. I'm always grateful when creators trust me enough to review decks, so thank you so much. And next time, I want to say thank you so much for being here. I'm sending you so much good vibes and keep navigating the waves of your soul. Bye!